Record right.
Hello.
Hey, hi Lin.
Hello. It's Tuesday, which means it's time for Down the Rabbit Hole. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's so not with our topic today.
This is not down the rabbit hole, babe.
Yeah.
This is like, I don't know what kind of dance is this.
Oh, let it.
No, that is under the sea. Yes, can't sing.
So happy tumbling with us this evening, and we are on the theme of states of being that change our lives.
Mm,
Jada.
mm. So we've begun exploring this theme, kicking off with the topic on being happiness, right? Happiness as the first state of being. And last week we spoke about flow. How do you get into flow state, optimal experiences where, if you begin to put an order on your consciousness, then you'll be able to get into this state where performing at optimal level. So, Lin, what are we going to talk about today? What's the third state that we want to explore?
Oh, today's state is a state called equanimity. And it's a state that I never heard before in my entire life until I started hanging out with the coaching community. And I first heard it from a senior coach. And she said something like, I want to just embrace everything and be in the state of equanimity. I was like, what is that? But I didn't even have to Google the word. It was the way she said it where I completely understood where she's coming from. Yeah, it's a very powerful state, not in the kind of overbearing power, but the kind of very zen, very empty state.
When you first shared with me this word, I was like, hey, wait a minute, what are you talking about? What is what? Equanimity? And I had to quickly do a Google and figure out what is that. And I think a lot of people out there are as clueless as me and they don't know what does equanimity means, right? And so we will want to jump in and explore and unpack that. Now, before we go in, shall we say hi to whoever's watching with us right now? If this is your first time watching us, Down the Rabbit Hole is a weekly 30 minutes series live talk show, where me and Lin get spontaneous and we begin to talk about important things, right? Important things that we might not necessarily get the time and the space to sit down and examine.
Yes. And because So the reason why we do this is because as a coach training school, when we train coaches, and from the years of our experience, we have realized that great coaches are not made out of coaching skills. It's about who they are as a person and the way that they change the space around the client to be able to cause them to reflect and create that shifts within themselves. So that's why we are focusing a lot on the inner work of a coach. And today's state, even though it's seldom talked about, it's not something you talk about over beers with a friend. But we all as coaches have actually accessed this state before. Do you know when, Jada?
Can I add on and say something where you say we don't discuss over beer or like drinks with friends about this state of being, right? And as you say that, something that popped into my mind is we actually do discuss. A lot of people often ask, like, how do I be happy? How do I get a peak performance in what we do, what I'm doing? So a lot of people want to get there thinking that it is an end goal, right? But actually, as coaches, we know that it's not about an end goal, an end destination that you're trying to get to, but it is a state of
being.
that you step into from moment to moment.
So let's clarify that for a while, right? What is this state of being? So a state of being is where, imagine you can just sit there and nothing happens to you and you're not doing anything. You're just sitting completely still and you can choose how you feel without the choice being dependent on the external environment or an external factor. So it's interesting, yeah? The choice comes from within. That's a state of being. So you choose to be first, and then the way that you are, your being state then determines your lens, the way that you perceive your world.
And it is from that state of how you perceive the world, then you begin to take actions, or then you begin to take on that state in doing the things that you need to do, or you have to do, or you choose to do. So I think it's like flipping the equation around, which makes living so much more powerful, I would say. That's why we say it changes your life, right? States of being that changes your life.
So it is actually intentional living, don't you think, Jada? Like, what for live if you're not living an intentional life? And this is why I want to link it back to why coaches actually have access to state, all the time, frequently, because when we are going into our coaching session with a client, what do? We make a choice, don't we? We make an intentional choice to be clear, be clean, be empty. I'm there for my client, whatever other affirmations that you say to yourself. And then when you go in and you coach your client and you see all the things happening in their lives and you see all their different reactions and all the different parts of them coming up, that's actually that state of equanimity. When you are placing equal attention on everything that you are seeing and hearing and you're not involved, whether it's your perception, your mental, your mindset, your emotions that get sucked in, you're just watching this movie and then because it's equal attention on everything, you see everything.
Wow. I like that definition. It becomes very encompassing in that sense. It becomes very big picture, right? So can you define again what's equanimity? It's not about being indifferent, right? We're not talking about being indifferent. Neither are we talking about being apathy, right? Okay, we're talking about simply not getting caught up with what's happening around us, internally or externally, not being caught up with that. And you're just pursuing the ideal of like being non-reactive.
Yes.
You say that.
Yes. So this actually brought me to, this brings me to one of the very first few quotes that we shared, I think on our first or second episode, Jada. And it was, it's by Deepak Chopra, but he actually extracted it from somewhere else as well. It's a holy reading. And, and he said, or the reading said, the study said, a human being's ability to observe themselves is the highest form of intelligence. That means you observe what's going on. Like you just observe what's going on, right? And that's actually what we're talking about here today. So, I liken it to at the beach earlier on today, and I realized that we all feel this when we are at the beach, or when we go traveling and we are at this wide expanse of space, and then at the beach, let's say in East Coast Beach, you're sitting there on the sand, and you see the airplanes flying in, you see the clouds. You see the moon maybe and the sun setting all in the same picture. You see different families and children and old people and couples who are dating, and you just see all these things happening simultaneously in front of you. And you have equal attention on everything. And then you suddenly zoom in, oh, that child looks interesting. Or, oh my gosh, that child is, maybe it's a bit of a danger coming up, right? They're going into the sea. So you zoom in. And then you zoom out again, you see everything. So that seeing everything is actually the state of equanimity.
Wow.
So how is this useful, right? Like, why do we talk about, why is this under the bucket of states that change our lives?
Yeah. Lin, since you brought up this topic, share with us, how has, this state helped you?
Equanimity.
Yeah, I'm avoiding. You got me. Oh my God, I love you. Equanimity.
Yes. Oh, there you go. Just say it really fast so that like when you trip over it sounds the same thing. Yeah.
I'm not in the state of equanimity right now because I'm reacting internally to me not being able to pronounce this. All right.
Okay. So when I was much younger, so primary school, secondary school, definitely secondary school, early teens, I was a very, very sensitive person. So everything that somebody would say something and I'll think it meant something about me. Or somebody just came, a friend came to me and didn't say like a cheery hi, I would think it's about me. Oh, this friend isn't friendly me anymore, or did I do something wrong, right? So I'm constantly reading and maybe sometimes even over reading other people's like what's happening around me. So I was very sensitive, highly sensitive. I was a pleaser, so I was always like doing things to please people. Um, what do you call it? Thinking about others or caring about others people before me, because I was so caught up in this whole thing about how I'm perceived. Am I accepted? Am I accepted? You know, am I liked? You know, am I part of the group? Am I part of the gang? And that was what drove me so much in my early years. And then the thing is, when I started coaching, both in terms of being a client, but also when I started coaching clients, I began to realize that we overthink things and we make too many things mean something about ourselves. And you can see that I think the accumulation of those moments was what slept me awake to then realize that nobody gives a shit about me. I am placing too much importance on myself. I'm being therefore too attached to what's happening because I'm making it mean something about myself. And the thing is, because everything that's happening is something about you, you get protective, you get defensive, you get, you're always alert, you're always ready to jump back in. And so as a result, I was just all over the place. Right. And if you thought like that sounds like completely zero self-empowerment, no confidence, just no sense of self at all.
So first things first, right? I think the very first thing to get into that state is, like you said, observer, having the awareness or the ability to observe what's going on and realize that you have this internal, whether you call it sensitivity or reactions that's going on to how other people are relating to you. So you first have to have that level of awareness. And then is it about choosing to then decide to not place so much emphasis on it and importance on it, or what was it?
Well, I think it was ownership. Right. So you can observe these things, but it then is about what is the choice that you're making. So for example, I know coaches who are like, even as their awareness is increasing, they still choose a lot of drama in their lives. They still choose to make it mean something about them. So your awareness is shit if you actually don't do anything with it. But maybe that kind of begs the question of, is there a higher order of living that you're after? Is there a higher state that you're after? Like, okay, very full spiritual people would say, do you want to vibrate at a higher level? Or do you always want to be caught up in like the more negative emotions? And maybe that question comes first.
So it's kind of like deliberately choosing to exercise that muscle, right? Because you had a moment where you had that aha and that awareness, and then you tap into, okay, so this is not about me, right? It's not about me. I don't have to have so much attachment to that situation or that person and that thing. And in that sense, you tap into you got into that state of equanimity, right? Okay, so you had that one moment there. But then we all know, right? Human beings, it is impossible to stay permanent in one state. We will fall asleep, right? You get woken up and then you fall asleep. But then in the ownership, like you said, and that choice, when the next opportunity opens up again, if you choose to step into equanimity, then that muscle is strengthened. And in that sense, the intervals when it is present, when that state is present, grows more prolonged and frequent. And some even say that equanimity becomes strong enough to qualify as a factor of enlightenment. Why is it that, when people are enlightened, they see everything as it is? They no longer hold on to any attachments. It's not even about black and white, right? Black is black, white is white, right? It's not about yes, right or wrong. Everything is the way it is.
And it's not only the way it is, but they are together, they make the whole. You can't have one without the other. Right? So victory and defeat come together. Like life and death come together. But seeing that as a whole, somehow, I guess, anything that causes you to see a bigger picture, you then realize how small you are. Right? The impermanence that you're talking about. And when we realize that we're actually very small and that life goes on regardless of us, actually you realize you think too much. Like, we think too much, we overthink, we think too many things about us. We try to be in control all the time, when the truth of life is that you're actually not in control of anything. And I think accepting all that and therefore encompassing all the different moving parts is what gives rise to this state, which actually gives one a lot of peace.
mm, mm, mm.
Yeah. So maybe what we can look at is, where do we in our lives get triggered? Where do we get overly reactive? And maybe that will point to where we haven't done enough self-work to disassociate ourselves. Right? There's still some kind of an illusion there.
I'm thinking as you're saying there, right? Like where am I giving attention? I mean, where in my life do I get triggered? Where do I get set off immediately?
Oh, I like that you almost said something though. Where am I putting too much attention and maybe too much importance?
Yeah. Because usually because when that happens, that's when I don't have that state of, whether you say a detachment, indifference. I don't have that state, right? Because I'm attached to reacting a certain way. I'm attached to a certain behavior or an outcome, and as a result, I get triggered. So where am I putting that attention? Okay, so while I'm thinking, let me also see. For those that's watching with us right now, say hi. We want to see who you are, who's with us on this call right now. I'm just rambling on because I'm trying to multitask thinking about that, and at the same time, I'm like, who is that? I can't see Facebook right now. Okay.
Yeah, I think so to repeat, right, the question for everybody is, where are you putting in too much attention? What are you placing too much attention on, too much importance on? Because that's where we're easily manipulated by what happens. So I can give an example that happens pretty often. It's not one particular moment, but as a leader in several groups or organizations, there is an importance of how am I being perceived, how am I being received, how am I being experienced, and yeah, my thought does often go there. I would say definitely compared to the earlier scenario I shared, many years ago when I was young, it has changed a lot. So I see a lot more things I just see a lot more things factually right now. So that's something an area in my life.
I'll tell you one just very simple one. When if let's say I'm buying something or I'm in the store, right, and I see people moving too slow, right, or they are taking a very long time to do something. Yeah, when people are taking a very long time to do something, I get very triggered. Straight away internally, I'll go like, I get worked up. Externally, I don't show it, but internally, I'll feel that way. And straight away when that happens, I lose all my calm and composure. I could be in a really good mood, very zen, on top of the world. But then the moment when something is slow, or people don't do things according to how I wish they do, or the speed of them doing it, then I'll get worked up.
Oh, wow. Why though?
Because I'll be like, hey, you're going too slow, you're going too slow.
So why is that important to you? Why is that important to you?
Simply because because it stops me from progressing and finishing off what I need to do. Yeah, it's like you're in my way. Yeah, I want to get things done, right? It's very clear for me. I'm at point A, I want to get to point B, right? Now, if I just need to get here, but if I'm not able to get here and tick off my to-do because you are in the way, it triggers me, right? I'm like, oh no, get out of the way, finish it.
Okay, but maybe that's where I can offer. So I'm in this state of equanimity also, right? Listening to you, which is that coaching state where you hear what you hear, you also hear what you don't hear, you hear what the client is trying to say and also not saying, right? Everything. So if we talked about, earlier we talked about how black and white are one picture, life and death are one picture, and it sounds like you are very focused on that, achieving that goal, that outcome, but maybe there's less focus or less attention, is unequal attention on barriers or things that get in that way of that goal, right? Because anything that is equal, what do you call that, force and counter force. But maybe because you're overly focused on the force to get there, you don't foresee the force that goes against, and then maybe that's what creates that frustration, because I didn't expect that. It's not part of the plan.
Yeah. So it comes back now to again like the expectations of how I want things to be. And then when I have the expectation again, then it's about me. Right? It's not about like the other person or the barriers that's in the way. I'm not concerned about them. I'm concerned about me.
Right.
Which links back to what you said when you learn, when you start realizing that, you know, it's not about you, it's not just about you.
So I think that one of the biggest traps that we fall into as human beings is the illusion that we are the center of the universe. Whatever I want, I must get, right? Like that the path is very straight. It's me to that thing, and because that thing is the center of what I'm focusing on. But the truth is that we are the center of our universe, not the universe. Sun doesn't revolve around you. Things don't revolve around you.
In fact, the sun will still go on even if you're not there. If we are not there. That's like how insignificant we are.
Yeah. So actually, when we can begin to see that, you know, yes, I am just a part of what's going on. You know, maybe we are able to access, like, have more, find more peace in that, or acceptance.
You know, as you're saying that, right? I mean, the image of like how samurai warriors come to mind, right? You know how they fight, like you see them so still, like everything around them is chaotic, reactive, in a mess of chaos and noise, right? But like they're so centered and so still, and then all of a sudden they bring out the sword and they go, and then they put back the sword and then they're calm again. There's so much power in that stillness, and because you're in that state of stillness, whereas the rest of that world is in chaos, right? You begin to see things clearer. And as a result, then the choice that you make, the actions that you then do subsequently becomes more powerful because you are taking action not based off reacting.
Yes. So good, Jada. Yes. And you're not taking an action that is limited to your bias. Your lens. Yes. The lens that is happening right now. So it reminds me of, you know, those movies that like those casino type movies or those poker player, right? They'll throw all the cards and then they'll slow down and all these cards go in the air, and then very slow mo the person will the ace and then and then one shot, one kill. Right? It's the same. Actually, we often see that in movies, but imagine if your life was like that. Like you see all the options in front of you, and because you encompass everything, you're not placing a preference or imbalance in attention on any. You can actually pick the one that's going to be the fastest way. So I have a very lame example. Actually, anyway, that day I was in the toilet at night and I was like taking my moment of peace on the toilet bowl, and I turned to my left and there's this cockroach like there, an adult cockroach. And then I jumped up, right? So the initial reaction is jump up. And after I stood there and I stared at the cockroach, and my mind was like, okay, what do I get? Do I get a bag? Do I get a paper? Do I get a spray? I don't know. And then I just stood there, but my mind was like, okay, but no, that's too far. That's too. So, and anyway, so I thought, okay, I've got a bag there. I rolled out a bag and I stood there. And then, like, after 5 seconds, I pew, and I aimed the thing straight into my toilet bowl and I flushed. I didn't even have to get my hands dirty. I didn't like chase it all over. Like, it wasn't chaotic. It was really one shot, one kill. I'm so proud of myself. But you know, it's such a very lame everyday example. But the point here is that you don't get caught up in that reaction, that emotional response. Right? Emotional response is one way we get swayed. Our, you know, like I said earlier on, biases, preferences, our conditioning is another way that we get swayed in how we want to see the world. So it shuts out a lot of other options that are actually there.
But imagine across every single thing that we are doing in life, if you can have that one shot, one kill.
I was very inspired after that, actually. I looked at all my projects like, hey, if I apply the one shot, one kill mentality, how does that work?
You know what? It will save so much energy. Yeah, because as already as it is, human beings, we spend too much energy on the frivolous, on all the chaos, all the emotions, all the reactions. Wow, I'll save a lot of my energy, man.
So maybe then, you know, what does this have to do with coaches? right? And to use what you just said, you imagine a coach who, is emotionally caught up in everything that the client says. So everything the client says, the mother, the father, this happened, the boss, blah, 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 you as a coach, you keep getting worked up. And then all your thoughts, your mindsets, your own history all come into play and you're just clouded. And then another example would be a coach who just sees everything equally, but from slightly more detached. It's passive, but it's involved, embracing. And it's because of that, they're then able to do this one shot, one kill as a coach. They can hear silences that actually maybe matter. That most coaches, 99% of the coaches would just gloss past. This coach might go, wait a minute, you pause there. What's that about? Oh, boom, client chokes and then opens up. But you have to be quiet to spot these things.
Yeah, the stillness, the equanimity that's inside internally.
I'm talking about still, I feel very still now.
You can, I can feel the silence around suddenly.
Nice, isn't it? So Jada, something happened, like some phenomenon happens to our coach students after they come out of coach training. Because of the constant coaching, creating and strengthening this space and listening and being sensitive, they are building their awareness, their detachment and their sensitivity. So imagine sensitivity plus detachment is a very interesting experience, right? And there are cases where coaches just suddenly, in Chinese, they say they have a phrase, 看破红尘. When they suddenly see through the illusion of what's the wool that's been over our eyes, and then they can't cope. So even recently there was a case like this, and we had to talk to the students, say, actually what you're experiencing is really very normal. This is why it happens. This is the state that you're in, and you're seeing with that detachment and sensitivity at the same time all the things, the crap, the lies, the traps that humans put themselves in. It is painful. You also feel compassionate at the same time. It's this whole wealth of things that come up, and it is the ability to just notice all these things. You can feel many different things about somebody or a situation, and to treat them with equality.
That's the power of inner work, right? If you if that coachee, that student had not experienced and observed all this, they wouldn't know the existence of how the world is, how the variety of human beings, the different varieties and personalities and characters of different human beings out there. But because she has experienced that through whether her coaching, her observation, internally and externally played out on others, then she kind of like got a bigger picture of what the world is, the truth is.
And then, these coaches tend to then have what it takes to begin to coach people at that depth, right? Because it's no longer coaching a person based on, oh, here's your situation, here's how I can forward you, here's the plan, here's the strategy. But the moment they're able to equally accept all these different human experiences, they get less scared of actually dealing with the bigger stuff, the bigger emotions, the bigger life questions. So
I think that's also, like what we say right at the start, right? This is the difference between a coach who is just using coaching skills versus a coach that has already navigated change and experience inner work within themselves and experience that state or the different states of being internally. Because when you come from that space in your coaching, it is no longer just about asking questions. Coming from a state of being when you're with the client.
So I'll what did you say?
That's really the art of coaching.
It is the art. It is the art. It's not something that somebody can teach you. It's a path that you have to get there on your own. So I'll end off with my summary, then I'll throw it over to you. But I think based on what we've been saying so far and what you last said, I like the idea of how we are in the universe, but the universe is also within us. And you know what we've talked about the last 5-10 minutes or so is this universe of different human experiences, the universe of different emotions, and they can all coexist at the same time, and they're all equally important. They have equal weightage. And maybe the question to us and those listening would be, you know, my parting question would be, where are you not equal in your attention within or outside? Where are you over placing, you know, too much importance on one thing or not placing enough attention on another thing? And then maybe that's where we can strike that encompassment of self and what's going on in our lives.
Thanks for sharing that, Lin. I think my takeaway or the state that I am in now is very much like the image of, you know, the samurai warrior that we're talking about. Or as you said, right, you throw out the deck of cards out there and you see what's happening. I want to get into the state because I think from that state, right, the way I'm going to see the world is going to be very different. So my challenge or my challenge to the coaches who's here and listening to this portion is maybe take a few moments in your life the next few days, step out and see and observe everything from that state, from that bigger picture, and get still inside.
Nice. Makes me want to go and meditate tonight. and see all that inner thing that's buzzing and not stilling down. Thank you for this conversation, Jada.
Thank you, Lin.
And thank you to all of those who are tuning in, and for those who tune in religiously every week, thank you so much for joining us on this journey. Jada, what episode are we at today?
16.
We're at episode 16. Nice. Okay. So I don't know about you, but I've definitely grown. I really feel I've matured a lot through this series, just talking things out with you. And I've had a lot of fun journeying with coaches along the way at different points of that journey. So if you're listening in and if it's your first time, see you next Tuesday. We're going to talk about gratitude, which is the perfect topic to end off 2020. And if you are, listening, it's not the first time you're with us. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. It makes it more joyful.
See you guys next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye.